Hi, I'm Claire Tompkins, the Clutter Coach, and this is the Organize Your Life podcast. In every podcast, I'll talk about an organizing, decluttering, productivity, or time management concept, and I'll tell you why it's important. I'll include an action step at the end so you can start practicing right away, all in just 5 minutes. If you have questions or would like me to talk about a particular topic, just shoot me an email at claire@cluttercoach.net. I would love to hear from you. This is podcast 126, and it's about quick tips to get you out of tight spots. Things you can do when you feel a bit panicked that things are going out of control and you don't know what to do next. I had that feeling the other day when several situations seemed to be just going off the rails at once. It happens. All those situations had lots of moving parts that I needed to keep track of, and I felt overwhelmed. On top of that, they all felt stalled. In each case, I was at a point where I couldn't control what happened next. So frustrating. I had to wait for something. I don't like to wait. So, I used tip number 1. Tackle just one thing on your to-do list. Find one next to do for a project. Note that you were shifting your attention from the higher priority tasks that are dead in the water for whatever reason. So you want to choose something that you can do right now. There's always something, right? This way you get to be productive despite not making progress on the bigger stuff. It all needs to get done, and you're in the mood to get things done, so capitalize on that by knocking some lower level items off your list. That's tip number 1. The next 2 tips are about organizing your stuff. If you have a lot of organizing to do, a whole house for example, there may be some times when you feel discouraged or overwhelmed, or as if you really aren't making any progress, not visible progress at least. Lots of my podcasts are how to avoid this problem or solve it, but here I'm offering just quick tips to get you past those stuck spots. Here's the first one. Tip number 2. Organize one little spot. It could be your desk, a corner of your desk, the kitchen counter, a corner of the kitchen counter, the coffee table, or any other smaller spot that has gathered a bunch of stuff that you need to deal with, or at least have out of your way. Again, this is not the high-level stuff, but it's a task that you can focus on right now and see results from. That, in turn, can either energize you to go further or put your mind at ease that you've done something. You did a thing. I once suggested that a client who was stuck organizing her home office focus just on one corner of her desk, in particular the far left corner. This was the one in her line of vision to the doorway. One reason she felt a bit stuck was that family members often stopped at her door to chat or ask a question. So that was the spot that she saw. She didn't want to discourage them, but she didn't want those interruptions to derail her either. She could see that small, organized section whenever she was talking to someone, and then she could let her eyes focus on it after they left. That way she was reminded of the progress she'd made, and that the rest of the office would soon look like that corner. It was like a little microcosm of order to soothe her. Okay, tip 3 is a variation on that theme. It's to organize and put away things for just 10 minutes. With this one, you're focusing on a length of time rather than on a section of physical space. Start wherever you are. For so many things that we do, where you start just isn't that important. What's important is the starting, the getting into action. Also, for both these tips, the goal isn't to finish anything. It's merely to inch things along. This is a stopgap till you can get back to your big projects. So, set a timer for 10 minutes. This is important because you need to have that alarm to relieve you of working any longer, unless you really want to. You can do another 10 minutes later if you wish. This is similar to the Pomodoro method, where you work for 25 minutes and then take a break. These tips also involve moving around, which leads me to the next one. Tip number 4, move! Move your body! Sit in a different chair, look at a different view, do something to change up your current physical experience. Leave the room, walk somewhere, doesn't matter where. Getting into motion can shake loose that icky train of thought that has you stuck. Moving your body can also help diffuse nervous energy that's gnawing at your attention. Sometimes people get stuck before they even try to do anything. They don't even get out of the gate. In this case, try tip number 5, a brain dump. You need to get things out of your head and onto paper to clarify your thoughts. It doesn't mean you're going to do all those things, but at least you have collected them, so you don't have to keep obsessing over them, and you can get back to focusing. Now, this might be a long list, a really long list. But we don't care about that because you're not going to do any of these things right now. I've written many times about how much relief you get simply from putting things down on paper. Well, I personally prefer paper, but you can do it digitally too. David Allen has written about this. He says that any uncaptured, meaning written down, tasks and thoughts are like hamsters running on a wheel in your brain. They keep running and making that awful squeaking noise just when you're trying to concentrate. Once those items are captured in a safe place, meaning a notebook you can find again, your brain can let go. Set those hamsters free. My last tip, number 6, is to ask yourself, what is the worst that could happen if I am stuck on this project? When you take time to think about it, you'll realize that the worst is really not that bad. As Woody Allen says, 80% of life is showing up. If you're doing something, anything, you're doing something. What you can do right now, choose the tip that feels most doable to you and try it out right now. Or file it away for future use when you get to the stuck spot. Hey, thanks for listening. I'm Claire Tompkins, the Clutter Coach. If you like the show, I'd love it if you'd leave a rating and review in iTunes. You can subscribe, too, so the podcast will be ready and waiting for you to listen to it. The show is available on SoundCloud and Stitcher as well. And you'll find the show notes on my blog at www.cluttercoach.net. See you next time.